Welcome to the intro paragraph video station. So today I'll be reviewing what goes into an introduction paragraph. Your introduction sets the tone for your whole essay. And an introduction has three parts. The first part is your hook. A strong hook is going to make your readers want to keep reading, and it could be a personal story, a fact, or description related to your essay topic. Now, for the essays that we're doing, you're not doing any sort of outside research that's necessary, so you might want to focus on the personal stories or things that you already know. So let's take a look at an example hook. Everything great I've accomplished in my life has taken and required some sort of risk. So this is a generalization, and that's one other way you could start your essay. You can kind of use a hyperbolic statement to emphasize your point. The next part of your intro paragraph is called the bridge, and this creates a smooth transition between your hook and the thesis statement. So if you were writing a literary essay, you might include important background information, but this isn't too much information, or else your reader's going to lose interest or become confused that you've started the bulk of your essay. So if we take a look at that hook again, let's go ahead and read our pieces for our intro paragraph together. Everything great I've accomplished in my life has taken and required some sort of risk. If I hadn't tried it all, I would have missed out on singing solos, best friends, and even going to college. So notice that I'm about to connect my generalized hook statement with my thesis statement. So I'm mentioning things that are going to come up later in my essay. The third part is your thesis statement, and this is the most important part of your entire essay. In an expository essay, this is the main idea that you're going to explain. And in a persuasive essay, it's the opinion you will argue and try to prove. Let's take a look at that whole paragraph put together. Everything great I've accomplished in my life has taken and required some sort of risk. If I hadn't tried it all, I would have missed out on singing solos, best friends, and even going to college. It is better to take risks and perhaps make mistakes because you learn from your failures. You might experience something new, and people who have achieved greatness have always taken big risks. So I'm mentioning personal details in my bridge statement and taking it into my thesis statement where I can speak more generally. Now we're going to take a look at an intro paragraph. It's going to mention some of the details we just looked at, and we're going to talk about what is good about the example and what needs revising. When I was in high school, I hated singing by myself. I loved singing in choir, but when it came to the extra groups like district or honors choir, I avoided them completely. What if I didn't make it? What if I wasn't good enough? It was safer just to stick to my school and be in the top choir there. Unfortunately, and fortunately for me, my choir director's senior year decided that everyone had to audition for district choir if you were in the elite groups. If it hadn't been for him, I would never have forced myself outside of my comfort zone. That year I went on to make all-state choir, which only 4 people from your region make. I agree with my principal's decision to require extracurricular activity participation because people could discover new interests and talents, they could make new friends, and they could foster a sense of community that will improve their academics. So what I think is good about this intro paragraph is that you really get in the headspace of this writer, which is me, Ms. Wickham, and you get to know all those details. So I think that's probably a good thing. And same with the list of questions at the beginning. Those are probably questions that, everyone has thought of when they're nervous. Now, there is a lot that needs revising. There are a lot of details in here that the average reader is not necessarily going to need to know or care about. They don't need to know how many people from your region make an all-state choir. They don't need to know all of those details. The sentence towards the beginning, unfortunately and fortunately for me, isn't effective wordplay there. It just kind of leads to more confusion to the reader. And then if we look at the bottom, when I'm listing my 3 claims, when I state making new friends and fostering a sense of community, those aren't really mentioned in my hook at all. So I probably need to revise this intro paragraph to somehow tie it into those claims as well. So let's take a look at the revised version of this intro paragraph. When I was in high school, I hated singing by myself. I loved singing in choir, but when it came to the extra groups, I avoided them completely. If it hadn't been for my choir director requiring us to audition that year, I would never have realized how good I actually was. I also wouldn't have made new friends all across the state. I agree with my principal's decision to require extracurricular activity participation because people could discover new interests, they could make new friends, and it could foster a sense of community that will improve their academics. So notice that I mentioned making friends across the new state, so I'm tying it better into those claims. I still try to give that personal story, but I don't get quite as much into the weeds into that story as I do about the first one. So I'm kind of condensing my intro paragraph to the points that I need there. All right, and that is the end of our intro paragraph station review. Feel free to move on to your other stations or check No Writing for some more intro paragraph practice.